Let's react to gaming news week for this week.
Start with info on, I think actually my most anticipated game right now, like from everything that is announced. I think so, yes. So while Sony, I think, will save the first look at gameplay for their end of May, early June showcase or state of play, they did share some extra info. Especially about the new main character, Etsu, who we now learned will be hunting those responsible for the death of her family. So we're out for revenge, and every odd job and bounty should provide us with the coin that we need. Now Ghost of Tsushima, of course, had this very interesting journey of Jin evolving from a samurai into a shinobi who would not shy away from sleeky tricks forbidden by his clan. And they say that we can now decide how we play Etsu, so I'm curious how that will change over the course of the game. We at least know that she has a way bigger arsenal of weapons, including the big Odachi, the Kusarigama, and the dual katanas. The Kusarigama is really fun in Shadows, will be fun to see the differences between both games. But yeah, we'll of course keep you up to date on everything regarding Ghost of Yote, so stay tuned.
Oh, I can't wait to play those new weapons. Oh, they're gonna be so awesome. Can you imagine the dual katanas? Oh, man. And you know, when it comes to her story, I mean, that's just a typical story. It's no different. It's just a generic hero story.
Last week I went in depth on the Ubisoft Tencent situation, as they will make a new subsidiary inside Ubisoft and move Assassin's Creed, Far Cry and Rainbow Six to that sister company. Tencent will invest 1.16 billion euros, and Ubisoft will use that money to improve the quality of these franchises and also increase the output. And in exchange, Tencent will take 25% of the profits made by those franchises in the future. But yeah, the big question is, what happens to the rest of Ubisoft that internally seemingly is referred to as Zone 1? Tom Henderson from Insider Gaming got his hands on an internal memo from Christophe Durant, who's the managing director of Zone 1, and there are some interesting things in here. For one, it's that they expect some major changes in terms of structure and organization, since these three brands compose of a significant part of Zone 1's population. One thing they already know is that after the change has been finalized, Quebec, Saguenay and Sherbrooke will move entirely to the new entity, while Montreal project teams will be spread between the new entity and the current Ubisoft organization. So this for one means that Ubisoft Quebec, the lead team behind Shadows, will probably only focus on Assassin's Creed moving forward. They of course did Immortals between Odyssey.
Yeah, I find it funny that Ubisoft's like, oh, we're doing this deal and accepting this money so we can make our games better. Well, if Tencent don't step in and sit there and tell you no on things, and you continue down the line of what you're doing, what's going to happen is you're going to lose out on more money, and then eventually Tencent's going to own more than 25%. Soon, Ubisoft's going to be completely absorbed by Tencent.
And Shadows had some other projects in the works too, but for the future it seems only focused on the RPG Assassin's Creed games. While the lead teams in Montreal now doing Hexe will also move over, and the team doing Far Cry 7 and Rainbow Six Siege, but Montreal is so big that they also have other titles that will stay with the old Ubisoft. No surprise, but it does seem that the two big Canadian studios will mostly be untouched by this change, while they know that our studios in Toronto, Winnipeg, as well as Red Storm and Blue Mammoth will continue evolving in the current organization. Which is probably a nice way of saying, yeah, there will be a lot of reductions there, but I hope I'm wrong. Toronto is the big one. They did Watch Dogs Legion, Far Cry 6, and are now focused on the Splinter Cell remake that is seemingly facing some challenges. So yeah, Watch Dogs Legion, Far Cry 6 both did not really do well, and then you have the Splinter Cell remake. It's just not a franchise that Ubisoft is really banking on. But it could be maybe worse if your studio is not mentioned at all. I immediately think of Massive Entertainment, who recently did Avatar and Star Wars Outlaws, and is now doing Division 3. Seems like Ubisoft does have future plans for the franchise, but I could also see that studio get some major reductions. Ubisoft Bordeaux has also been strangely...
Oh, the studios who sat there and did Far Cry, or not Far Cry, the studios that sat there and did Avatar and Star Wars Outlaws, oh, they should be in some serious trouble. I hope that they're all looking for new jobs. Come on, you can't sit there and make that Star Wars Outlaw game and expect to keep your job.
Absent from any mention of this. While they did Mirage, which was pretty successful for the limited dev time and budget, and they're now doing the first Shadows DLC. They even moved into a bigger office recently. Like we know, they are doing Assassin's Creed stuff too. I always fantasized that they now would make a true old school title like Unity based on what they learned with Mirage. But again, Ubisoft has not mentioned them for their future plans at all. Although the thing is that Ubisoft does not even seem to know what those future plans are either. They talk about how they will work things out until the summer, and then in step 3, so after the summer, they will implement this new model and fully know what the impact will be on the whole organization. This new structure though should be done by the end of the year, but a lot of uncertainty there right now. Although Rainbow Six, Far Cry and Assassin's Creed, again, I think will likely benefit from the focus and extra money poured in. But the rest, well, I'm not sure what the rest will look like when all this is said and done. Let me know what you think of this update and my concerns in the comments down below. Of course, I will keep you posted here. Just make sure that you leave a like on the video. That would really help me out and show your support. And subscribe, because we post one of these big gaming news roundup videos every Sunday.
Well, what's most likely going to happen is Ubisoft's going to sit there and shut them down. But also, probably the reason why they don't know what's going forward is probably because they have these big plans for these horrible woke games that nobody's going to want to play. And now they got to redo their whole structure all over again, find out what they want to do. Because for some reason in their mind, they thought that these were going to sit there and be amazing games that everybody wanted.
Yes, we got the Switch 2 blowouts, but the actual hardware and software details are not the biggest news story here. Do quickly want to keep you up to date though, as according to Nvidia, for example, this new console has 10 times the graphics performance of the original. It can run Cyberpunk, and people seem impressed with the performance. Elden Ring was announced for the system as well, but yeah, that game was also on Xbox One and PS4. Still though, Star Wars Outlaws, that is a current gen only game, was also announced for the system, just like Borderlands 4, and it actually looked pretty decent. We should get way more info on the game in a state of play very soon, by the way. Zelda actually looks good now and runs at 4K 60 docked, while the new 7.9-inch screen versus the 6.2-inch of the original is 1080p instead of 720 and can go up to 120 FPS, which is kinda wild. But in the end, it's of course all about the software, and a fully open world Mario Kart with 24 characters in one race, a ton of new skins, is of course really going to move units. Interesting they went with a new dunk.
I don't even know why that they sat there and showcased Star Wars Outlaw. Come on, no one is excited for Star Wars Outlaws. Honestly, Nintendo, if you were smart, you would have been like, nope, we're not bringing Star Wars Outlaws to our system. How do you think that's going to help out your system? That's going to be a detriment to your system. That game is nothing but a liability for you guys. Now, I really do like how Mario Kart World looks, and I really am excited for that new Donkey Kong. But let's hope that he sits there and says what the controversy is. Because, yeah, the specs of the Nintendo Switch 2, hey, they're really good for what the system is. Yeah, you can't compare it to a gaming PC, or you can't even compare it to the consoles like the Xbox or the PS5. Of course they're better, you know, but it is a far better thing than the Switch 2, or the first Switch. But let's hope that he sits there and gets into what the main controversy is.
Donkey Kong over a 3D Mario, although there is of course a Donkey Kong movie coming as well, and there were some questionable new game releases, like this supposed to be the new ARMS, but it looks like a PS2 game. Curious how much they're going to ask for this, because Nintendo is not joking around. While previously their most expensive game was Zelda Tears of the Kingdom at $70, like that was the only game on the platform that was $70, this is now the starting price for most games. The physical version of Donkey Kong Bonanza is €80 or €70 digitally, while Mario Kart World is €90 physically or €80 digitally, same price in dollars by the way. Switch 2 versions of Switch 1 games can also go up to $80, like Tears of the Kingdom and Kirby, and there should be upgrades for if you already own the game, but no details on how much that is going to cost you. And the crazy part is that not even all these Switch 2 games that you pay more for physically will have the game on the cartridge, but have a download code instead, so you're paying $10 extra for a plastic box. Nintendo is really testing their luck here, but I would not be surprised, especially in the initial weeks, if they can get away with it. Many gaming companies will at least be watching, and I in particular think that people like Sony will look at this and probably increase the price for their highly anticipated titles as well.
I really hope that they cannot get away with this. Okay, I really hope that the people say, no, we are not going to spend $80 for a digital copy and $90 for a physical copy. That is unacceptable. In no reality is Mario Kart World ever worth that damn price. And you know what? There are some fanboy and fangirls. Now, I'm not saying he's a fanboy, because he hasn't sat there and said he hasn't sat there and said or recommend anybody to buy this game. But there are a couple of YouTubers, okay, who sit there and say, oh, well, you know, one person sat there and said, well, you know, if the people who develop these games, they need to raise the prices so they can fairly pay them. If you actually think them raising those prices are going to fairly pay them, I got a beachfront property to sell you in Antarctica. Okay. And then another YouTuber was like, oh, well, you know, even though they're expensive, you do get a lot of value for what you're paying. No, you don't. Okay. That game should be no more than $70. I will agree, maybe $70, but 80 or 90, that is unacceptable. And you know what? I really hope that people say no. I really hope people push back and refuse to buy it. Now, I know that the really loyal fanboys and fans, girls of Nintendo, are going to sit there and spend their money, but I really hope that the game bombs, which I know it's not going to.
Like Wolverine, $80 instead of 70, which would then be €90 in Europe, as many games already cost €80 here. GTA 6 was of course long rumored to be the first to up the price for console games, but Nintendo beat them to it. Look, I of course want games to be as affordable as possible for everyone, but with everything around us increasing in price, like concert tickets for 21 Pilots, one of my favorite bands, was like €52 in 2019. Now 6 years later, they're back in Amsterdam for €100. So they doubled the price of the standing tickets, while games only increased a small amount in a way longer period of time. It could be that Nintendo already factored in some of the US tariffs into their physical games and console pricing. Fun fact, it's $330 in Japan to buy one, but that is region locked, so it doesn't work outside of Japan. But yeah, you likely heard the news that Nintendo delayed the pre-orders in the US due to the tariffs that are likely way higher than they anticipated. 46% on products from Vietnam, and that is where the Switch 2 is being manufactured, so that's insane. They will keep the June 5th release date, but you would think they probably increase the price for people in the US. What a crazy situation all around, and I'm curious to your take in the comments, but this will probably impact other gaming companies as well.
Okay, Joe R. Raptor, listen, I think I say your name right. I'm probably not. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, but do you actually think that they're raising those prices just because they need to sit there and make up for everything going up in cost? Come on, man. There's no way that that's true. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold 67 million copies. Okay, at $60 a piece, that is over $4 billion. Okay, now I know that other people take a cut, but let's just say for argument's sake that the game cost $1 billion to make, which I doubt the game cost $1 billion to make. But let's just say for argument's sake it actually did cost $1 billion. Okay, where do you think that other $3 billion went? Okay, even if you include the marketing and everything else, you don't think that the executives were lining their pockets? Come on. The reason why that they're raising these costs up is so the executives can continue to line their pockets. Okay, don't sit there and buy into this whole thing. Oh, the reason why it's getting more expensive is because it's getting more expensive to make games. No, they want bigger cuts and bigger profits. That's all it is. Nintendo is not a gamer-friendly company. They don't care about the gamers. They never have. Well, that's it for my reaction. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with me or not. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay vigilant.